So not too long ago I made a few reviews about equipment in a game called PlanetSide 2, but something standing out about my recent set of reviews is that I had a negative outlook on most of the new equipment being sold to people, and not everyone was happy with that. For those who don't already know, the game I mentioned runs on a free-to-play business model, meaning downloading and playing the game is free, but you're sold items and equipment within the game for your character. That's how the company makes money, and this has become a popular business model in recent years. Occasionally they'll release new equipment to be sold within the game. When that happens, I review it. When reviewing a piece of equipment, I compare it to its competitors and its statistical capabilities or lack thereof, and using my knowledge of the game, I then supplement this information to form a conclusion on if and how the item is useful. But the thing is, these videos were reviews, not sales pitches. It's not my job to sell you the item, and some people are always a bit unhappy about that. The idea behind a review is that generally someone goes to it before they make their purchase in order to collect information on if it's a good purchasing decision. What I've observed, however, is that some people watch reviews hours or even minutes after making their purchase, hoping for a pat on the head and to be told that they made a good purchasing decision. Then they're upset when they don't get the pat on the head that they really wanted out of the video. What they really showed up for was some assurance, and this is something I've noticed in just about any industry and with any product. Someone will buy something and, despite its glaring inferiority, vehemently defend it from all criticism. This has gone so far that recently I was asked to censor my negative reviews, under the pretext that it's not fair to tell people a product isn't worth the money if someone else somewhere has worse options in comparison. I promptly compared this to being sold a smaller, lower quality house at higher price than a competing one, since he was basically suggesting that if someone in a poverty-stricken third world nation doesn't have the option to buy a house, it's therefore okay that someone in the Western world is scammed into buying a lower quality property at higher price, because merely being in the Western world is so great a benefit that a review pointing out that a product is a bad deal should fall under censorship. I then explained how censoring negative reviews was a terrible idea because of how anti-consumer it was, and the fact that allowing a company to not have to deal with the negative reviews whenever they release products that aren't worth any money further encourages bad product design. However, he refused to concede the point. Let's suppose I was a famed reviewer of sporting equipment. All over the world, people watched my videos on what brand of shoes were best for football, or what energy drink was both high quality and came at a reasonable price. Now let's suppose you're going diving. Maybe you want to buy an air tank. Maybe I know of a tank brand that has 30 minutes worth of air and another that has an hour's worth of air, and both tanks are somehow the same weight and same price and otherwise identical. One is simply a clear upgrade to the other. Now let's suppose you, wanting to be an informed consumer, watched a review of air tanks from me. And instead of comparing these two tanks, I simply tell you that the tank that has 30 minutes is a fantastic tank with my full recommendation to purchase over its competitors. And I conveniently leave out information about the competitor. Not because I wasn't aware of it, not because I forgot about it, not for brevity's sake, not because it's available at fewer locations, but my stated reason being that I censored the information and deliberately withheld it because, well, there's some starving kid in Africa who can't go scuba diving. You have nothing to complain about. If my presence in the review of those kinds of products were large enough that my reviews decided thousands of sales, and I deliberately withheld information for that stated reason, would you not be suspicious that perhaps I'd been offered some money under the table by the company whose product I favored? If you, as an informed consumer, armed with the knowledge of one product's pros and cons versus another product's pros and cons, make an informed purchasing decision to go with an inferior product, in the case of video games, perhaps you buy an inferior weapon because you think it'll be a good challenge. That is your right as an informed consumer making an informed decision. It's not okay to censor reviews and deny people the right to an informed purchasing decision. The statement of, well, I like a product, therefore a review is wrong, is not an argument. Higher standards of evidence than that are required for me to consider a review to be unfair. If a pistol has less ammunition than any of its competitors, then it has less ammunition than any of its competitors. This is a statistical fact within a game's measurable data. Facts are not up for democratization. This problem stems from a form of Stockholm syndrome. Someone's already paid money for something, and they don't want to believe it was a bad investment. They would never make a bad investment, right? Or someone feels they have a worse condition than someone else, and thereby want other people in better conditions to be scammed due to some concept of privilege or self-deluded notion of justice. I will not censor a review on the pretext that to tell people the truth about a product is insensitive to their precious feelings, despite the fact that it's been often demonstrated to me that doing so would likely result in more popularity. To do so would be destructive and deceitful. Anyway, that's enough for this video. Like, share, blah blah, insert typical end of YouTube video pandering here if you feel so inclined. I'll see you next time. Later, YouTube.